Hi everybody and welcome back to English Grammar. You know, of course, that for the English tenses there's always a simple and a continuous form, a progressive form. And this video is designed to tell you which form to use. So this is not about the production of specific tenses. We're not going to tell you how to produce a past progressive, for example. We have this covered in videos anyway. No, this is only, and this is very important, to make you spot the place where you need a simple or a progressive form of a certain tense. Alright, let's have a look at a couple of examples before we go to the rule. You know, of course, that for the present tense you have those two forms. What's your sister doing? She's reading a book. And she usually reads a book before sleeping. So we've got the present progressive or the present continuous over here on this side and the simple present here on this side. What's the difference? Why did we use the ing form here and the simple form there? That also works for the past, of course. We began at 10 o'clock and finished at 11:30. So at 10:30 we were playing tennis. Or you say, I was watching TV when the phone rang. So again, you've got your simple form here, now in the past of course, and your continuous form here, also in the past. What's the difference? Why did we put the ing form and why did we put the simple form? And that also works for the future. At 9 o'clock tomorrow, I will arrive in my office. So at 9:30, I will be working. Or let's wait for Mark and then we'll have dinner. And between 6 and 7, we'll be having dinner. So we've got that will future over here on the right hand side of the page and our so-called future continuous over here on the left side. What's the difference? Okay, good. Let's continue. You've got your tense, be it the past, the present, or the future. This does not work so well with the perfect tenses, with the past perfect and with the present perfect, but we have those covered in videos anyway, so there things are a bit different, but it works for the past, for the present, and for the future. You've got your continuous form and you've got your simple form, and this is your basic guideline. Continuous form, ing form, means being in the middle of doing something at the time of speaking, at a certain time, be it the past, the present, or the future. It means that you're in the middle, or that somebody is in the middle of doing something at the time of speaking. And we use the simple form when we're talking about things in general, about a habit, for example, and for the past, about a complete action. But the most important thing to remember is use the continuous form of a certain tense when you want to say that somebody is in the middle of doing something at the time of speaking. And with this in mind, let's have a look at a couple of more examples, simple or progressive. Why are you walking to work? Don't you usually take the bus? Now this is a direct speech. You see somebody and you ask that person, why are you walking to work? So obviously that person is doing it at the moment, right now. Okay, he's in the middle of walking to work. A clear case for the present progressive. And don't you usually take the bus? We've got the simple present. Now this is a habit. Normally, usually, that person takes the bus. We've got a habit or a repeated action, talking about things in general, not at the moment, because at the moment that person is walking. So, why are you walking to work? Don't you usually take the bus? And that also works with the future. Will you be waiting for me when my train arrives tomorrow? Will you be waiting for me? Will you be there when my train arrives? Will you be in the middle of waiting for me? Will the waiting be going on when my train comes in? So this is future continuous. And that simple present down here, the arrives, although we're talking about the future, is the so-called timetable present, and we often use the simple present in connection with the arrival or the departure of trains, buses, planes, and so on, and then it's called timetable present. Will you be waiting for me when my train arrives tomorrow? And that also works for the past tense, of course. The kids were playing in the garden when suddenly it began to rain. All right, so this is your action in progress. The kids were in the middle of playing, and then it began to rain. So this is an action that cuts in. So you've got your action in progress, which is your past progressive, your past continuous, and then in the simple past you have that action cutting in. It's a clear setup here. The kids were playing in the garden when suddenly it began to rain. Being in the middle of doing something, the kids were playing in the garden. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so much for grammar explanation. And now I have 2 pages with exercises for you. And this is how it works. You will stop the video now. Please hit the pause button, get pen and paper, and just write down the sentences and put in the correct tense, and be careful with your simple or your progressive form. And once you're finished, then you will start the video again, and then we compare. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please stop the video now. Here we are back again. This is your first sentence. Yesterday evening, Mark came home, switched on the computer, and checked his mail. Yesterday, of course, means past tense, so that's already clear. And you still have to decide whether you need the simple or the continuous. Now, this is a clear case for the simple past. You've got one action after the other. There is no mentioning of being in the middle of doing something, okay? This is talking about things in general, one after the other, a clear case for the simple past. What are you doing at the moment? I'm reading a book. When you're asking somebody, what are you doing at the moment? It's always that person is doing it right now, in the middle of doing it, so it's a present progressive. And the answer then, of course, also, I'm reading a book. What were you doing yesterday at 7 o'clock? So yesterday at 7 o'clock, again, you need the past tense, of course. And here it's you interested in what that person was in the middle of doing at 7 o'clock. Okay, so we use the past progressive. On Wednesdays, I play tennis with Emily. I may, you might actually put in the past tense here. I played tennis, that's fine, but you need the simple form because it's on Wednesdays. It's not being in the middle of doing something. Now Wednesdays here is plural, so it's every Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we always play tennis. So we use a simple present or maybe a simple past. The film starts at 8 p.m. would be the timetable present. And of course, you can also say the film started at 8 p.m., but there's no way you can put a progressive form into that sentence. And this time next week, talking about the future, of course, we will be sitting at the beach. Now, at this time, make it 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, in a week, we will be in the middle of sitting at the beach. Future continuous. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and one more page with exercises, and it is the same thing. I want you to stop the video now, hit the pause button, put in your tenses, be careful with with the simple or the progressive, and then start the video again, and then we compare. All right, back again, and here we go. This is your first sentence. When I was your age, I got up at 6 and went into the bathroom. Now the past tense is already established in that subordinate clause when I was your age, and then it's two actions, one after the other. It's not being in the middle of doing something. It's also a habit, a repeated action. I always got up at 6 and went into the bathroom. So we've got the simple past in both gaps here. Mark sometimes reads comics, but he never watches TV in the morning. Okay, sometimes reads comics, simple present, because it does it often, it's a habit. But he never watches TV in the morning. Again, this is like a negative habit, okay? This is not being in the middle of doing something, so you need a simple form, and here the simple present. Look, the boys are coming home. The moment you say look, it's clear that you're talking about what happens at the moment. And this is why we have the present progressive here. Look, the boys are coming home. You can also put in a present perfect, a simple present perfect. Look, the boys have come home. That also works. But we're not talking about the perfect tenses in that video tutorial. It's only past, present, and future. So put in a present progressive. Mark was late as usual, so we're already in the past tense. While we were waiting, we were doing crossword puzzles. While is a signal word. It signals an ing form. In this case, a past progressive. You've got those two actions, waiting and doing crossword puzzles. And those two actions were going on at the same time, and it's parallel. So we've got the past progressive in both gaps here. While we were waiting, we were doing crossword puzzles. A clear case for the past progressive. What were you doing when you heard about 9/11? What were you in the middle of doing? And then the action that cuts in is that newscaster telling you about 9/11 when you heard about 9/11. So we've got the past progressive for the action that we're asking for, that we were in the middle of doing, and then the simple past for that cutting in. Okay, this is when the person on television told you, what were you doing when you heard about 9/11? And the last one, is it okay if I come at 8 o'clock? No, I will be watching football then. So this evening at 8 o'clock, I will be in the middle of watching football, so you can't come and see me. Future continuous. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so much for the big difference between simple and continuous. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye and have a good time.